Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal and helps support the show. What's up, Walkers? There 6 back with some more Magic the Gathering Throne of Eldraine spoilers. This is the last session of spoilers before, well, I guess technically before Throne of Eldraine releases. I'm recording this on the 21st. The 22nd, nothing's going on. Man, 23rd, nothing's really going on. Oh, but the 24th, I'll be streaming on YouTube, here, on YouTube, for Wizard-sponsored streamer event, where I'm going to have access to all these new cards and potentially new cosmetics. And we're going to play a bunch of fun new decks. And let's see what new decks we have in store today. Iron Crag, Pyromancer. It's a 3-mana 0/4, very similar. It's essentially like if you took Gutter Snipe and you mixed it with Electrostatic Field and you shoved them together, right? And that's what you got here. Human Wizard, she's a wizard, so that might help wizard decks somewhere, I don't know. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Iron Crag Pyromancer deals 3 damage to any target. Now, this is different from both of those cards because they can only hit face. I think. I'm pretty sure. Regardless, this doesn't work on just any spell you cast, which makes it a little bit unfortunate. However, it is a little easier to keep alive because it has 4 toughness, and that extra 1 damage per might actually be pretty helpful. So I can see a world in which you're playing maybe Gutter Snipes as well, but definitely Iron Crag Pyromancer as well as Electrostatic Field, and you're just playing like a counter draw burn deck where you have a lot of draw cards so that you can activate these second card each turn draws or triggers, and then you just have, you know, a bunch of counter spells, make it so your opponent can't do things. I think that something like that is definitely something that you can get away with up to about gold rank, and I think you'd have a pretty good fun time playing it. It is a little unfortunate. It's a little unfortunate these draw your second card each turn cards, because there aren't a ton of great cards like that. Obviously, if you have a Goblin Electromancer out, your situation's a little bit better. You know, Chemist Insight immediately draws you a second card. Radical Insight? No. Radical Idea. You know, you can play that in the same turn as you've already drawn a card. So I'm very curious to see what other effects that you might be able to put in here that makes drawing that second card worth running. And hopefully those things are going to be instants and sorceries. Fabled Passage. Now, this is a new fetch land, and this is very similar to Prismatic Vista, I believe, except Prismatic Vista from Modern Horizons, you have to pay 1 to activate it. So the difference here is that Prismatic Vista will always get your basic untapped, right? You just have to pay a life. This, you do not have to pay a life, but if it'll only come in untapped if you control 4 or more lands, and that includes the land you just got. So essentially, right, your first, second, and third land, if you use this to get it, it will come in tapped. However, on the 4th land and afterward, it is just a better Prismatic Vista because it no longer costs you a life. The question is it worth it to run this card, right? Knowing that sometimes you have to use it early and you're going to be missing out. Now, I think that the answer to that question is a pretty easy yes, at least in mid-range / control decks, and here's why. We, as control decks, we are already used to running both the temples as well as the shocklands. And typically, we end up running those early, or we end up weaving them in, right? So if I have a hand of 3 lands, 2 of which are shocklands, 1 is a basic land or something, and then the card that I want to play is like Thought Eraser, right? Immediately on turn 2, on turn 1, I can play that Shockland. So if you replace that with a Fabled Passage, boom, I'm using Fabled Passage, I'm getting an island or whatever. Let's say the other land in my hand's a swamp, and then I have a water grave or something. On the second turn, I can play that swamp, or I can play that shock, but I don't necessarily need to play that shock. So let's go ahead and just play that swamp, use Thought Eraser, cool. The turn after that, we have once again a card that would come in potentially tapped. If we have another 2-drop, we can just use it, right? So I think because of the way control deck play lines already pan out, I think this card is definitely going to see plenty of play in Standard. I think this card is very good and helps the control decks. Now, I do think that control decks are going to really want to focus on 2 colors. So I did make a version of Nicol Bolas, my good old Bolas control deck, for Throne of Eldraine Standard, and there are very few red needing cards in there. Essentially, I think it's just Bedevil, Chandra, if she's still in, I might have put her in the sideboard. And then Nicol Bolas itself. And that's only one red pip for both of the non-Chandra cards. So, you know, the red isn't too necessary. And then the majority of the deck and the majority of the cards are going to be blue-black, right? So I think as a control deck, you're going to want to be a little bit more leaning towards just solid 2 colors and have essentially a splash of a third. Excuse me. It also helps with some of the other cards that'll be... Wait, did I talk about those already? I think I did. It helps with those castle lands, the Death Star, or the Star Destroyer and whatnot. Is this card good enough in aggro decks? No. So something like a... I don't think so, at least. Something like a Gruul aggro deck or a Rakdos aggro deck potentially get a little worse, because since they're ally colors, they don't have access to the temples, which isn't, you know, it's not too bad, because you don't want to play too many tap lands in your aggro decks anyway. Temples, for what it's worth, are fine in aggro because of the fact that you can use them to make sure you don't flood as much. But you really want to be able to hit your first lands a lot more. That's why cards like Dark Slick Shores and I can't remember any of the names of the Kaladesh versions, but those things, I can see them in my brain. I can see the art. Can't actually picture the name. Yeah, no idea. Things like those are a little bit better in more aggressive decks, because you can make sure your lands early are coming in untapped, and then once you get to the later point in the game, it's not as important. I talked a lot about Fabled Pastures. I think this card is going to be a pretty often used staple. Bloodhaze Wolverine. This is a Wolverine. I'm curious if we have other Wolverines. Yes, we do. We have 6 more than I thought we did. So, you know, Wolverine's a 2 mana 2/1. When you draw a second card each turn, it gets +1/+1 at first strike until end of turn. This is a draft card, right? This is for the archetype of drawing a second card a turn, whatever. The fact that this isn't a permanent buff makes this card well, obviously you're not going to get first strike permanently, but the fact that you can't get a 1/1 counter on this bad boy, I think makes it pretty bad, because in limited, it's, in my opinion, a lot less likely for you to draw 2 cards in the same turn frequently, which means this is going to be less reliable. That said, it's still a functional bear, so it's fine. Improbable Alliance. When I first saw this card, I thought it was a creature, and then I noticed that it doesn't have power and toughness. The art looks like a creature. Obviously, it's depicting the Alliance. Whatever. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. And then, of course, 6 mana to draw a card, then discard a card. Now, this card is a lot better than the Wolverine, because this is getting you a permanent benefit and can help you get more of that permanent benefit. Even if, you know, you draw in your limited deck. I don't think this will be played in the dedicated 2-draw deck in standard. Maybe, I don't know. I don't like the idea of this card in standard, but in a limited context, right? Even if you just top deck a land, you know, you can draw another card. If both of them are lands, sure, just bin one, and then you get to you keep the other one in hand for the following turn, just to make sure. But I think this card is pretty reasonable. Getting a blocker helps you survive to get even more value with your draw cards. Steel Gaze Griffin, 5 mana. This looks like a snow permanent. Just saying. 2/4 flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, +2 until end of turn. This card I feel like is slightly better than that Wolverine, even though its ability still isn't permanent. Something about it being a 2/4 flyer, even though it's for 5 total mana, it feels less bad to me. Now, obviously, because there's so many flyers in this format, it's possible that its cost makes it worse than it would be in other formats, if that makes sense. So in other formats where there are fewer flyers, it might not be as bad, or it might be better, because you can get in with this a little bit easier, right? Even if you're just attacking with a 2/4 flyer, and sometimes you get a 4/4. The fact of the matter that there aren't as many blockers for you means that it's a little better. But in this format, when you're making a bunch of 1/1s, you know, there's a decent number of fairies flying around, this might be a little worse. Don't know, who cares? Mantle of the Tides, another colored artifact. 1, equip creature gets +1, +2, equip 3, sure. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, attach Mantle of the Tides. This card is I don't think good. Limited context, obviously. But like you get to circumvent the equip cost, which is nice, but it's just like I don't love it. It's a 1 mana equipment. Now I'm putting my foot down. It's not great. Mad Ratter, great name. Decent card. 4 mana for a 1/2 is why I say decent card instead of good card. 4 mana for a 1/2 is not great. Because if you're playing this on 4, right, unless you have a looter in play for 3 or less, then you're not going to be able to use this card until your next turn. Now, 4 mana for essentially a 3/5, no, a 3/4, sorry, across 3 bodies, that's fine. You know, I'd take that. But you have to like have this guy live, and it's a 4 mana 1/2. You know, if you're playing this and your opponent is playing a, I shouldn't say questing beast, because that, like, obviously your opponent's playing a mythic, you're playing an uncommon, you're probably going to lose that trade-off, mana for mana. But you know, you're playing this and your opponent's playing even just a 4 mana 3/3. You know, you might just be losing too much tempo to come back from that, especially since you're not guaranteed to activate this next turn or even the turn after. So this is like a late pick and draft if you already have that deck going, I think. But yeah. Lockthwain Paladin, 4 mana for a 3/2 menace. If it's adamant, you get a 1/1 counter on it. 4 mana 3/2 with menace, reasonably playable is my assumption. 4 mana 4/3 with menace, better. By the way, there's gonna be a lot of limited cards. Luckily, not too many cards are left. So, Foreboding Fruit is a pair, so obviously it's foreboding. See, for those of you who don't join the Twitch streams, you might not know. Sometimes we just talk about fucking fruit, and we yell at each other about fruit for an hour and a half. And one such of these occasions, I had people dead ass looking me in my eyes through their computer, telling me that pears, these shitty little things right here, these shitty, ugly ass little things right here, are better than apples. Get that shit out of my face. No. Anyway, 3 mana, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. I love that this says target player. I absolutely love it, because I want to be able to, 1, force my opponent to lose 2 life, potentially killing them, force my opponent to draw 2 cards, potentially killing them, or something like that. Who knows? I like that this lets you target your opponent. For what it's worth, you can also use it in other multiplayer games, and you can have it target an opponent who's a friend, right? Someone you are saying, hey, I don't have a way to remove this player's commander. I have nothing of that in my deck. I know for a fact I can't deal with this situation in my deck. Do you? And they're like, I mean, I got like 3 of those cards, but none of them are in my hand. And you're like, all right, Foreboding Fruit, you draw 2. Right? I like stuff like that. Adamant, if at least 3 black was spent to cast a spell, create a food token. That's not terribly hard to do. I'm considering putting this card in my Bolas deck because, 1, with Kefnet, this card costs 1 mana. That's pretty, well, when you draw it off Kefnet, it costs 1 mana. That's pretty damn good. Okay. 2, paying 2 life to draw 2 cards, that's not bad. You know, if you're doing that on 3, that's not terrible. You know, we already have Notion Rain. Notion Rain is different, obviously. You know, you get the access of Surveil and whatnot, but the option of being able to pay black for this and get a food token, which not only mitigates the life damage, but allows you to gain 1 more. And it might not seem like a lot, but sometimes nickel and diamond is how you win games of Magic. I love this card. Unfortunately, I think in this environment, it's not going to see play. Well, that's not true. I think this card is definitely playable in mono black aggro. I expect Dark Mist to start putting this in his decks because of the fact that this can target your opponent, right? This can deal 2 damage to your opponent. It's not even damage, it's loss of life, right? This can do something for you. You're going to get a food token. Maybe you're in a racing situation, and that 3 life, you know, you have a bit too much mana anyway, you know, once you get to late game. That 3 life could make it so that you have that extra turn against that aggro deck, that opposing aggro deck, and you get to kill them. Late in the game against a control opponent, You're playing this, you're getting something out with haste, maybe. Maybe you're playing it in a black-red deck, right? Focus on black, you have some hasty cards in red, stuff like that. I think this card is pretty decent in those decks. But we'll see. Rosethorn Halberd, 1 mana, +2/+1. Fucking equip 5, but when it enters the battlefield, attach it to a non-human creature you control. I don't like the human racism, but at the same time, I kind of do. I was about to say something very stupid. It's fine. This card is also not good. Being able to get a +2/+1 buff for 1 mana is good. Needing to pay 5 for it to equip... Fucking Batterskull has an equip cost of 5. This ain't it, Chief. Great art, though. Absolutely fantastic. Locthwain Gargoyle. This doesn't have flying. A lot of gargoyles have flying. This game... Oh. Real talk. Real talk. When I first read this card, and I've read most of these cards by now, real talk, I just thought that this I thought this had defender like other gargoyles, and that this was gets +2/+0 and can attack as though it didn't have defender. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up. This is a 1 mana 0/3. Depending on how many 2X's are in the format, the limited format, that will kind of decide how decent this card is, because you can just end up paying 4 to give it +2/+0 and flying. Of note, that's not once a turn. Mana sinks in limited, especially in sealed, are decent. And that's because once you get to a certain point in the game, being able to utilize your mana consistently gives you a mana edge over your opponent. You know, if we are essentially top decking the exact same cards, except I have a single card that can do something for 2 mana, that means I'm using 2 additional mana every turn. And over the course of several turns, that's going to add up to a lot of mana advantage, right? So yes, technically 8 mana for +4/+0 and flying isn't the best. It's still better than not having anything to do with that mana. Probably a late pick, but depending on the situation, I don't actually think it's terrible. Deathless Knight, Quad Golgari for a 4/2 with haste. You gain life for the first time each turn. I'm sorry, my throat is killing me, and that's making me read cards poorly. When you gain life for the first time each turn, return Deathless Knight from your graveyard to your hand. I have no idea how often you're going to be doing that. Like, it's cool that it has haste. Makes sense with its ability to be a 4/2. Still seems a bit weak. Also, doesn't look a ton like a skeleton. So tiny. 1 mana flash enchant creature. Enchant creature gets -2/-0. It gets -6/-0. Instead, as long as its controller has 7 more cards in the graveyard. This essentially is Threshold. The Threshold mechanic is... Fuck, is that from Judgment? Look, I can't remember. Alright, that was a long time ago. The Threshold mechanic essentially is like, when you have 7 more cards in your graveyard, you do a bonus thing, right? One of the rituals gives you, like, I think it's 2 black mana for 3 black mana. And then if you have Threshold, it gives you 5 black mana. I want to say that's what it is. I think it's like Diabolic Ritual. I don't know. I haven't played with with that ritual in years. But this is kind of the opposite. It's for your opponent. Is this card good? No. It's maybe decent removal and limited, pseudo removal at least. But I don't see this being played in standard at all. Happily Ever After. Fuck. So I gotta talk about fucking this card. Okay. 3 mana for a fucking enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each player, not just you, your opponent as well, each player gains 5 and draws a card. You are giving your opponent a card, and technically they get to use it before you because you are using mana. You're not going to be able to get maximum mana advantage from that card initially. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents that you control, and, so that's one thing you need, there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard. Let's go through the card types real quick. Artifact, enchantment, land, creature, planeswalker, tribal. Shit. Sorry, I'm going to Tarmogoyf. I can't remember the name of things. Tarmo. Alright. Oh, I forgot instant sorceries. Artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, land, Planeswalker, Sorcery, Tribal. Tribal doesn't exist. You have to have all but one. There's 7 of these dang things. You need all but one, as in a permanent or in the graveyard, right? Obviously, we're going to have land. We use land to cast this. We're going to have enchantment. We use enchantment to cast this. Instant sorcery, not terribly hard. You know, cast those, they go into the graveyard. That's 4. Of the 3 of creature, enchantment, planeswalker, or no, sorry, creature, planeswalker, artifact, we'll need something among those, either on our, in play or in a bin. That is difficult, but sure. For what it's worth, these counts multiple things. So if you have an artifact creature, it counts both. That's 2. And your starting life total is greater than or equal to your starting. Your current life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total. Then you get to win the game. I'm going to be trying this deck. Specifically, I'm going to be trying a deck that was sent to me by Enigma, because their deck is pretty fucking cool, I have to say. I think the idea they went with is pretty good. I do think it needs a few tweaks, but I like it. I like it as a base. I plan on using it, and it's fucking hilarious. So yeah, like, this is a weird fucking card, and I love alternative win conditions. Oh my gosh. Hear me out, alright? Eventually, once we get Amonkhet block back, we chuck in Approach the Second Sun. So we have Happily Ever After, as well as Approach the Second Sun, as just 2 potential alternate win conditions. How many alternate win conditions are there in Arena right now? I know there's also the Simic Enchantment, Simic Ascendancy. There's that. There will be this, technically Approach of the Second Sun. Bolus technically, but that one you don't win the game. Your opponent dies. I want things that say you win the game. Memes. Nothing but memes. Festive Funeral. 5 mana for instant target creature gets -X till end of turn with actually the number of cards in your graveyard. This is decent removal in limited. I'm not gonna lie. Even just a 5 mana for -3/-3 at instant speed, that's fine. But honestly, in limited, this scales decently okay. I think this is probably fine. Oh, it's that woman. Okay. Even as we mourn the last, we look to the next with joy. Hopefully my new suitor will bring the cauldron home. Okay, now I'm getting more information about this lady. That was her previous husband. He failed at bringing her the Eternity Cauldron, or Cauldron of Eternity. This is her new husband, who I assume she's going to send off to bring back the Cauldron of Eternity. And if he fails, he happens to die. Return of the Wildspeaker. This card's fucking good. However, I hate Garruk as a character. I'm going to talk about that after I talk about the card. 5 mana for an instant speed. Choose 1, draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Fuck humans. Once again, even though Garruk is a human. Sure, that makes sense. Non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Not only does the draw skirt around removal spells, not only can you use the second part to murder your opponent, you can use the second part to survive. Oh god. Whew, the sneeze was real. This thing's instant speed. It doesn't give trample, sure. It doesn't affect all creatures, just non-human ones. But you can hold this up to block. You can hold this up as an alpha strike. You can, if you have a 4/4 and a 5/5, and you cast this card, and your opponent kills your 5/5, you still get to draw 4 cards, because it's not draw cards equal to the power, target creature's power, right? This checks on resolution. Obviously, if you lose all your creatures in response, then you don't get to draw anything, but still. It's just, mwah. I love it. It's great in my L, and I can't wait. The issue is that Garruk's a dick. Garruk has always been a dick. If you're one of these Garruk apologists, says the guy who's a Bolus apologist. Fuck you, Bolus is great. Garruk, a lot of people were like, Well, no, he's only an asshole because Liliana made him. No. No. Her animal, or his animal, attacked her. She defended herself. She didn't go out of her way to murder the shit out of it and like make it super gruesome. Her magic happens to go like that, right? She was attacked by his animal. He found her, was like, hey, you do this shit to my non-human child? And she was like, yeah, man, like, it attacked me. Like, calm down, bro. And he didn't. And he kept getting pissy. And Liliana was like, dude, leave me alone. Then when he didn't, then she cursed his ass, all right? Got mustache hair in my mouth. He could have backed off so many times. Fuck you, Garrick. You're shit. I don't like him. Oh, he's a hippie, but he's a violent hippie, and I hate him. Fuck you, Garrick. Resolute Rider. 1, fantastic art. Fucking love this shit. 2, quad Orzhov for a 4/2. Gains lifelink until end of turn for 2 dub Orzhov. Trip Orzhov gains indestructible. I don't think this card is good. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Oh, fuck. I have to play Super Knights now. So there's the Cavaliers. Goddamn mustache hair. There's the Cavaliers. And there's these. Oh, wait, no, I can't do that, because not all of them are Knights. Never mind. Yay, I get to not have to do that. Mystic Sanctuary. This is a land. Specifically, it's an island. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. That has proven to be a bit of an issue. When it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Holy shit. Holy shit, that's good. That is great in control decks, frankly. That is just the pièce de résistance. That is what you want to see. The issue is you have to control 3 or more islands. And since Bolas, very black-heavy deck, I'm not sure how often I can do this in Bolas. This might be, honestly, better in a 2-color deck. Or just a 3-color deck that's really heavily blue. Yeah, time will tell about how well that these things function in 3-color decks. So we'll have to see about that. But I love the effect. I've seen a bunch of people talk about this shit in Modern and Legacy. And when you see a new card that's a common, and people are talking about in Modern Legacy, oh fuck, oh my god, this is a common. I can play this in my Turbo Fog deck, bro. I can play this in my Turbo Fog deck. It's so good, bro. That deck plays Azorius Chancery. Holy shit. You have 3 islands. You play this shit. You get a fog back to the top of your library. You play an Azorius Chancery, bouncing this shit. Play your fog. Play this shit. Get your fog back. Yes. The issue with that is that Turbo Fog doesn't do very well in Pauper because of the fact that there are black decks that just say, fuck you. Sage of the Falls. I haven't read this card. This is a Merfolk, apparently. Very odd perspective. I don't like the way he's touching his body and looking at me. 5 mana for a 2/5. Not bad. Whenever Sage of the Falls or another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So this, I think, is meant to help that that double draw mechanic. You know, in Limited, this isn't terrible. Because it gets you access to that precious draw. It's a 5 mana 2/5. Not the best, but also not the worst. It is a looter as well. I think in Limited this is okay if you're trying to go that deck, but that's about it. Oh lord, she's shushing. First of all, Bastion, this is a masterpiece. Everything about this art is fucking perfect. I hate it. It makes me uncomfortable, and that's what it should do. This is a 2 mana 1/2. Holy shit, we have a hate bear who doesn't have 1 toughness. Flying and lifelink. The lifelink is just fucking batter. No, frosting. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. Yes, that's that shit I do like. This is a hate bear right here, my friends. Death and Taxes shall be back on the channel. You got some interesting blue cards as well. I don't know if I'm going to be splashing... So it's going to be a white-blue deck, mostly. Don't know if I'm going to be splashing black, red, or green. But man, oh man, I fucking love this card. I don't know if it is good enough in Modern. But it could be. And that's what makes it cool. Now, Hushwing Griff does a similar thing. But it doesn't work on dying. I'm dying. I'm this card. I just fucking love this card. I'm gonna play this shit in my my 8.5 Tails EDH deck though. So good. And it carries swords so well because it flies. It can fly and carry a sword. So I love it so much. Fill of Possibility. This is a 2 mana. As additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. This essentially is what is it? Tormenting Voice? Oh right, except this is a fucking instant. This is just better than Tormenting Voice. Because it's just an instant. Reanimator decks are still going to be able to use to exist, and I think Reanimator decks get a little bit of a boost with this, because now Reanimator decks can also run some decent removal. That's instant speed, because they can. I guess they could use counter spell. Are there counter spells right now that let you discard or let you mill your own cards? I know Thought Collapse or whatever forces your opponent to mill. I think the new mill. I think it's in here anyway. So, but yeah, now the Reanimator decks can hold up something and just discard and draw some cards. I love it and I hate it at the same time. Flutterfox is a 2 mana 2/2. As long as you have an artifact or enchantment, it has flying. This thing has fucking... What is his name? No, not you. Apollo. There we go. He got Apollo feet. Ares kept getting in my head. I was like, not fucking Ares. Outflank. 1 mana instant. Outflank deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature equal to the number of creatures you control. I don't love this card. It's okay in a token deck, but I would rather just have actual removal. Prize Griffin is a 5 mana 3/4 flyer. It is that. That is what it is. It is not terrible. Youthful Knight, a 2 mana 2/1 first strike. Not very good. I apologize. This is a reprint. Charmed Sleep. This is a big fuck off dragon. Just sleeping in the middle of a town square. Okay. 3 mana, enchanted creature. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So, is this just the same as Claustrophobia? This is exactly the same, right? Yes, this is exactly the same as Claustrophobia. It's still a common, right? That looks like a common to me. Yeah. All right. Sure. Didn't say please. Ah, it's this card. It's controller. Yeah. So this I believe is exactly the same as Thought Collapse. And it's essentially counter whatever. And its controller mills 3. It's exactly the same as Thought Collapse. So call. After spell control puts the top 3 cards of their library in the graveyard. So I mean it's exactly the same. It's like whatever. I wish that you could choose... I wish it was just like target player. Or like a player puts the top 2 cards. You know, maybe restrict it. But, whatever. Merfolk Secret Keeper. The Merfolk in this set are appropriately horrifying. Like, that just looks like someone who has legs. That's melded together. She looks terrifying, but beautiful. It's horrifying. Venture Deeper. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard. 1 mana for top 4. I know there's the Jace's thing. I am thinking of... Tome Scour? Does top 5, I think? Tome Scour. No, well, cool. Top 5, yeah. And so this essentially is 1 less than Tome Scour, because you can also have a 0/4. And I think that if you're playing casual, like budget mill, I think this is the type of card that you definitely want. Oh, fuck. Mill has a strategy in limited right now. Ooh, I know what I'm forcing. I'm going to be forcing limited. Or I'm going to be forcing mill. I love whenever mill is in limited because just get them. Just constantly get them. What does this look in the collector booster? The art in the set is just fucking great. Both of these are fantastic. Anyway, you get a 0/4. I think this is fine for what it does. I don't expect... I think mill in standard still has a better play pattern. I think mill in modern, like this doesn't fit there, but I think casual mill and limited mill, I think this is decent. This is exactly what I'm talking about. These Merfolk, dude. This is horrifying. She looks a little bit anime, but honestly, it makes it a little bit scarier. But like, these are like legs and shit, but not really. Like, it's fucking horrifying. Who did this? Miranda? Miranda, you're scaring me. What else? What else have you done, Miranda? Oh, just this. Well, I gotta say, for your first card, is pretty damn spooky. The problem, of course, is 6 mana for a 4/5. When as a battlefield, if you control an artifact or enchantment, return target creature to opponent controls its own enchantment. It's not very good. Can't bounce your own thing, which sucks. Cost 6 for a 4/5, and you need a thing to have it. Not a very good card. Fantastic art though. The trees are great. The lighting of the netting and this trident, which is only like connected here in those two places, which is fucking weird. I guess that's a fork, not a trident. It's a bident up there, and there's 4 prongs there. So I guess it's technically a fork. Queen of Ice. This is Elsa. Let it go. Let it go. Rage of Winter. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its blah blah blah. Tappy free spell. 3 mana for 2/3. It, whenever she deals combat damage to a creature, tap it. It doesn't untap during its next untap. I think this is fantastic. I think the art is fantastic. Oh, Eric did that. Good job. So this, the reason why. There we go. The reason why I love this set is because both of these arts are fantastic for different reasons, right? I love the choice of this. I mean, obviously they commissioned this to be the original Queen of Ice, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's very evocative. It even is semi-evocative of Frozen, which, you know, I don't give a shit about that movie, but still, it's notable. And then this other one is so storybook feeling. You know, this feels like it's out of a storybook, and it's fucking great. Absolutely, the art department like went possibly above and beyond because they spent double the art budget on a lot of these cards. Insane. Absolutely insane. Barrow Witches. 5 mana for 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, return target night card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a limited card if you've drafted a lot of and or a single good knight. That's it. I'm not kidding. That is it. There's literally a card in here for 5 mana that can just return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. No, that actually might be the battlefield. Yeah, like this card is Lash of Thorns. 1 mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. This is, you know, decent. We've seen other effects like this in, I mean, as recently as fucking... I can't remember the name of the damn card, but it's like 2 mana and you like draw a card or some shit. I don't fucking know. It's from M20. But this is a little bit different. It's a little cheaper. This is actually a sizable buff. You know, +2/+1. This is reasonable. That's the fucking Unholy Strength. Except you don't even lose life. Unholy Strength. Oh, right, that's an enchantment. Never mind. It is the Unholy Strength buff. I must have been thinking of a different card, because I'm pretty sure there's a card like this that gives +2/+1, and you lose a life. Because I want to say there's another one that's +1/+2. It's Holy Strength, but an instant, and then you gain a life. I could be super wrong, but... That's it. I think this card's very good. Also, really cool shit. Jeff Simpson. Oh, fucking, I love this card. Love this version. Oh, they did Languish? This card's horrifying. I don't remember if we've talked about this card yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and do one of these. There we go. Malevolent Noble. 2 mana for a 2/2, that's fine. Sacrifice an artifact or another creature, put a 1/1 counter on Malevolent Noble, that's fine. In limited, if your opponent is going to kill one of your creatures anyway, you might as well sack it to make this bigger. Malevolent means he's a bad guy. He has slain a dozen witches, luring each with a promise of fresh children's bones. How is he a bad guy? Please, wizards, I would like to know how killing witches who want to have fresh children's bones. How's he? Oh, I realized maybe. No, this is a promise of fresh children's bone. Not saying with fresh children's bones. He didn't lure them with actual children's bones. He lured them with a promise of those. How is he a bad man? I would like to know. Memory theft. Horrifying. I would love to be able to have the magic to cast ravens, ethereal-ass, smoky-ass ravens, and have them go through someone's skull and pull out their memories. That's some dank shit. 3 mana, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, that player discards that card. You may put a card that has adventure that player owns from exile into their graveyard. What does this do? Essentially what this does is, 1, this is a limited card. 2, what this does is it means that that player can't use the creature part of it, right? So if I play, shit. Let's say I use the adventure version of the Ice Queen, right? So I've tapped something and it doesn't untap. My opponent then takes one of the cards out of my hand, and they go ahead and take my Ice Queen and shove it in my graveyard from exile. That means I can't use the Ice Queen. I can't pay 3 mana for a 2/3. So this is a limited card. Rebirth of the Night. Oh, okay, I didn't actually talk about this. You got 7 mana for a 4/5. Whenever it attacks, if defending player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, it gains flying until end of turn. That's not very great. Harvest Sphere. 4 mana, target opponent discards 2 cards. That's also not that great. Combine them together into 1 card. This is not a terrible card in sealed. I think in draft this is too slow. But for sealed, the sealed environment is typically slower. So I think you can probably get away with this being a bit of a top end, depending on your deck makeup. There seems to be a decent amount of removal in this set, so you could probably get away with this. And you're just hitting someone with 4 in the air. Although there's a bunch of flyers. I don't know. I will say, this art, fucking horrifying. That looks like a damn thing monster as the spectral steed. Obviously, this dude looks pretty damn cool. Then we got this over here. I'm just going to click on it so we can go to it. What the fuck amazing art is this? Dude is here. The actual Reaper Man here with this dope-ass double scythe shit. I don't know what all this extra fluff is, but damn it, I love it. Elena, what else have you done? Just this. This is your first piece of magic art. It's dank shit, dude. Fling. Fling is back. This is a reprint, but I wanted to talk about it because we last had Fling in Amonkhet. Fling is now back. I can't wait to die to this shit. Bruh. Hydra Fling. We can just play a big-ass Hydra for X, and then push it at their face. I love it. It's great. I love it. Rime Rock Knight? Rimrock? Rime Rock? I want to say Rime Rock. 2 mana for 3/1, can't block. That's fine, who cares? How is this a knight? This is a fucking dwarf underground. Dig a diggy hole. Boulder Rush. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. That is honestly a fine combat trick. This is a limited playable card. Kenrith's Transformation. Fucking... That's a $150 right there. Also, his antlers are very sharp, which is very strange, but whatever. Enchant creature enters the battlefield, draw a card. I like that. I like that when it enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card, because your opponent still has a creature, but the creature loses all abilities and becomes a 3/3 elk. Now I play What is that card? What is that? Darksteel Mutation. I play Darksteel Mutation in a lot of my EDH decks because it is a pretty decent way of keeping your opponent's commander out of the situation. Now, in normal standard, I think this might be fine. I don't know. There are a lot of things with +1/+1 counters, so but I think that in standard, this is maybe playable. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is a limited card. Unfortunately, in EDH, it's not as good as something like Darksteel Mutation because Darksteel Mutation, 1, makes it 0/1. But even if Darksteel Mutation made it a fucking 3/2, even if it made it a 4/4, it's technically better because it's indestructible and your opponent can't kill their own commander by blocking with it. So they just have it stuck. It's great. I love it because I'm a bad person. Sporecap Spider. 1, horrifying. Look at the size of this lad. This is the person. This is the spider. After years of taunts and aerial assaults from Rankle's minions, the witches of Merfolk Forest acquired new familiars. This is a big motherfucking spider. I mean, most spiders in Magic are fucking huge. Oh, there's a cottage back there. I didn't realize. I thought they were like out and about in the forest. This is just like in her backyard. Whatever. 3 mana for a 1/5 with reach. That blocks things. That blocks things all day long in this limited format. This is, in my opinion, this is a pretty damn good card. We'll have to obviously see how it pans out, but this is 3 mana for 5 toughness. I like it. Crashing drawbridge. Not crushing. 2 for a 0/4. Creatures you control can't hasten until end of turn to tap. That ain't bad. It does mean you can't block with it, but once you get to a certain point in the game, maybe you have a flyer that your opponent can't deal with. You play that immediately, tap this down, make it hasty, and hit him in the face. I think this is fine in limited. Prophet of the Peak. This is a cat statue with just majestic antlers and then the weirdest damn ears, more antlers. I don't know what the fuck these are, but whatever. Also 3 eyes. Sure. 6 mana for a 5/5 when it enters the battlefield, scry 2. That is a good limited card. Here is why. It's colorless, means you can put it in any deck. It's a 5/5 for 6. Not an awful deal. Not the best deal. Not an awful deal. You could scry as well. That sets up your following 2 draws. Well, it sets up your draws somewhat. It doesn't actually set up the following 2 draws. Not bad. It frequently predicts imminent death by devouring. The joke is it eats the person. Scalding. Fuck, I hate this card. Scalding Cauldron. It's hard for me to say. 1 mana, 3 tap, sack it, deals 3 damage to target creature. Luckily, it doesn't have to be an attacking creature. I think it technically would make more sense if they did that. But I like that they're showing off some siege warfare in a deck that has King Arthur Knights type stuff. I need to like take stock of the set and see how much of the set is Grimm's Fairy Tales versus Arthurian Legend, because I know they said that they essentially put them together. But it feels more storybook than Arthurian Legend. But I could just have some recency bias or confirmation bias or something going on. So. Signpost Scarecrow. 4 mana for 2/4 Vigilance. That is fine. That essentially is a Pillowfield Ox. Sure. 2 mana, add a mana of any color to mana pool. This is very similar to Prismatic Golem, I think is what it's called. It's like the 2 mana 2/1 that does the same thing. 2 mana, add a mana of any color. But what's nice is this has Vigilance, right? So you can attack with this. I'm not going to do it very often. But you can attack with this and block with this. So even if you don't really use the mana that much, this card's probably okay. Cursed Scarecrow sending folk in every direction is the same as sending them nowhere at all. Yeah. I mean, someone could just write on the signs, like... Weapon Rack. 4 mana, Weapon Rack enters the battlefield with 3 1/1 counters on it. Move a 1/1 counter from Weapon Rack onto target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. So unfortunately, that ability is Garbo because of that. Makes me sad. But we still have access to Proliferate in Standard. So you could make a very bad deck. And last for today is Dwarven Mine. Born underground, suckle on a teat of stone. I can't remember all the damn lyrics to that song. Whatever. Diggy Diggy Hole, Dwarven Mine. Enters the battlefield, tapped unless you control 3 or more other mountains. Sure, that's fine. When enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 dwarf. I said dwarf. Dwarf. This, honestly, probably fine. I think this, of all of the like, special lands, is... I don't know if I can even say that. I think this is very decent. And a lot of people are like, it's a 1/1 creature. That's not very good. In an aggro context, if you do happen to flood out, having your top deck land do something, even if it's just making a 1/1, that's helpful, man. Can you play Rakdos and still play this card? That's remains to be seen, and it's not something I'm going to figure out because I don't fucking play aggro very much. He says knowing that he's inevitably going to have to play some aggro decks because there's only so many decks that are control, mid-ranger, and jank-ass combo that run around. Anyway, my throat is killing me. So I'm gonna finish up today, and this is going to be a normal vid today, mostly because I got home late because I got a new phone. I don't get new phones very often, so this is the phone that I had been using. This was given to me by my sister. This is essentially, it's a hand-me-down phone, because before this I had a flip phone. I think it was Samsung, whatever. It was a flip phone, prepaid. This is still prepaid. I don't use it enough to need an actual plan. And then before my flip phone, which I had since late high school, like legit, I got this a few years ago, like maybe 3 at this point. So 2016 all the way to sometime in high school, like 2011, 2012. Before that, I had like a slide up phone from like Nokia or some shit, which was also prepaid, and I just didn't use like at all. I've essentially had 3 phones in my entire life so far. I'm 25. I'm getting my 4th. I got my 4th phone today. I still have to like configure it and shit. I plan on having this 4th phone for many years to come. So I figure I'll just share some bullshit. What the fuck am I talking about? I don't know. I'm in a good mood today. That's good. Anyway, if you'd like to make me in a better mood, you can totally join my sweet patrons, especially Zin, Rexel, Croft, and Freygut, because they support your boy, and I would love to thank them for supporting your boy. If you'd like to join them, you can find links to that down in the description, or you can press that join button, become a channel member today. Man, I don't fucking know. I say the same thing all the time. Look in the description for a bunch of good information about me and stuff. I don't know. Not enough people look at the fucking description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go and tap that like button, add a subscription to your Manapulcast account in the comment section down below, pass the turn in the video to some of your friends, and of course, until next time, all will be one.